All right, this is a newbie booktube tag thing. Don't understand tags really at all. It's foreign to me, but I know that it's kind of an introductory thing that you should do, right? So I'm just catching on. This isn't my first video, but I'm late to the party, but I'm here. I, much like all my other videos, kind of just finish a book and roll into it, right? The review. This one is, I have a few questions, right? And I'm rolling into it. So we'll figure it out on the way. So, why did I start a booktube channel? That's the first question. Pretty simple actually. I read books, lots of books. I finish them and then I think, wow, that was great. Lots of great themes, lots of great like emotions that it brought out of me. I wonder what other people think. And instead of being able to reach out to those around me or friends or family and saying, hey, what'd you think of this book? I know you like the same stuff as me. What do you think? Because they don't like the same stuff as me, right? Even if they read other stuff. There's a million different things out there to read, and my reading taste is not going to coincide a lot, even close, with those around me. You know, fantasy is a big genre, and no one I know reads fantasy, which is just, it's sad for me. There might have been a beep out there. Hopefully that, that's not too much. Anyways, I wanted to talk to people about books. Is That's the end of the story. I want to talk to people about books, and that's why I'm trying to be pretty active in the comments of others, like other channels. And I also want to get more comments here so I can talk to people about what has been read, like in a deep way. I love that. So if I can do that even a little bit, that would be transforming and transformative to my reading, I guess, enjoyment. I want to talk about things. All right, second, what can I bring to BookTube that's unique? Why am I starting it? Other than my desire to do it, right? Because you don't really need to bring anything unique. You just, you know, if you have a desire, low bar to entry, just go for it. But I think, and what I've noticed is not a lot of booktubers that I've seen in the fantasy and sci-fi and all this genre and space have a military background. And you know that you don't need one, obviously, but it brings its own unique way of looking at things. And if you've been in, it's a different world. Not better, not worse. It's different. And I think those experiences lend to a different way of seeing and viewing things. And right now I'm on my way out the door. I'm in a hotel getting my way back to the States. I've been overseas for many years now, but it's it'll be good to be back in the States, to be on the right time and not have to adjust. But I really think that the background being what it is can bring some fresh perspectives to some books and some series that we all love and know. Again, not better, not worse, just different. Um, where did I get the channel name from? So, Splintered Light, if you take a look, that's the channel name, is from a really powerful and moving and very eye-opening book by Professor Verlin Flieger called Splintered Light, about Tolkien's works and Tolkien himself, and what he means by things like, why do the I mean, I don't want to go too much into the weeds, but it explains a whole lot of why Tolkien wrote what he wrote and how he thought and how his Christian beliefs and how his viewing of old Norse kind of mythology, and how that has shaped the way he thought, and how that really shaped Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth to be what it was. And it really opened my eyes to the power of fantasy and fiction itself, and how great it is in so many ways, and does things that you can't do with, let's say, strictly nonfiction, obviously, but other forms as well. And it's worth the read. It was mind blowing to me, and I've read it probably a dozen times at this point. It's so great. Anyways, do yourself a favor, read that book if you love Tolkien. All right, which book series got me into reading? As a kid, I grew up loving Lord of the Rings, the movies. Didn't read them. I tried reading, I think I tried jumping into Return of the King in like fifth grade. I don't even know how old fifth graders are, but I just couldn't crack it. Like my reading level just wasn't there, and I went off to, kick a ball around or something. Who knows? But yeah, that didn't work. But what I did get into the following year, so sixth grade, was Dragonlance. Dragons of an Autumn Twilight, starting with that, and then just going into the dozens of directions that series goes into, and it goes into so many. It's a huge world, and they're all really good for kids that age and a little bit older, and that's really where I cut my teeth, was the fantasy of Dragonlance and the world of Kryn. It was so great, and I loved it so much. But since then, I've just been reading like crazy all the time. Obviously, I had a break there in high school when my mind got busy doing other things, right? Schooling, reading things not for fun. Same with a little bit of the beginning of college, but yeah. Other than that, it started with Dragonlance, and it ballooned out from there. Of course, I've read Lord of the Rings since then, obviously, but Dragonlance still has that place in my heart, right? Uh, Challenges I think I might face, and the challenges would be editing. Editing. I'm no good editor, and as you can probably tell, it's all unedited stuff that I post. It's all pretty stock standard, nothing crazy. And if I'm spending all my time editing, or even a huge chunk of an hour, 30 minutes editing, that's too much for me. Like I'd rather be reading. So if I have to do something like that, then I probably wouldn't post as often. And I would like to keep posting and keep reading and all this. I don't want to have a backlog of like 40 videos, but regardless, that's the biggest thing that I think. And getting good connections. I would really like to find good connections, but it's challenging sometimes. Where do I read? Anywhere and everywhere. I prefer, obviously, to read with a cup of coffee in my hand and my feet up, right, in a good armchair, hopefully. Read in bed every night. I go to a coffee shop when I can and read. It's nice to, get coffee and read, even in public. For the longest time, I did a bunch of reading on submarines. That's where I was a lot of times for many years. And that's where I actually started my renaissance of jumping into new books. I had a time there for years where I was just reading old stuff, like rereading things that I liked, and I wasn't really branching out. And luckily, I broke that by getting, new reads, and I started just eating books, because when you have nothing to do but work and then read for however many hours you're awake afterwards, that's a different story as well. You'll find yourself eating books, and because of the nature of the limiting of space in a submarine, I transitioned from reading physically to reading all on a Kindle, and not even on a Kindle, the Kindle app on my phone, which I still use to this day, because I'm never, wherever I am, I have my phone. I'm used to reading on a Kindle, so everything's kind of the same, just on a smaller little platform, a little smaller device on the phone, and I just continue using that, and I love it. I can't. I tried reading a physical book and I succeeded a few months back, and the process of going from one page to the other, and I think I was laying down as well, and you've known it, and I had the same problem back then, was like you couldn't get comfortable reading because you weren't able to as easily flip the page and to get going, and you had to keep the light on or a lamp. It seems small, but when you're reading so many pages, it gets rough and aggravating. That's why, Kindle and Kindle app all day for me. And I don't, all my physical books, I do have physical books. They're not here, they're being shipped to the States. Um, my background is empty. My background's not going to be a massive library that others have, because a lot of it is on Kindle. What I have physically, those are usually the top tier books that I want to read or have read and have read many times. And that's what we'll see in the back. All right. What kind of books do I like to read? Primarily fantasy. That's number one, as I mentioned. I've also gotten super into historical fiction recently. I love historical fiction. Sci-fi is always a really good second, always behind fantasy, but I think historical fiction has taken the place as second best over sci-fi nowadays. then mystery novels, old pulp noir kind of stuff. I love that. They're usually shorter. They're great to throw in between these big, hefty fantasy books or with sci-fi, big, weighty, conceptual stuff. Where you're just like, wow, okay, well, I never thought of how space travel and long distance space travel affects the family of the people left behind and how they get old and how sad that is, all that kind of stuff. And you're like, whoa, weighty stuff. All right, let me find out about this. Let me see about this woman in the 30s who has a missing husband, and let's get this hard-boiled detective to find him kind of thing, right? Like that is low stakes comparatively, right? Into the world in a lot of situations for other books, end of all this stuff. But in here, it's a simple missing case, and you get these twists and turns, and it's a rewarding, easy read, and I love that stuff. So I love mystery novels as well, but primarily fantasy is where my heart will always be. Always love fantasy. Book collection, there's nothing around me, as I talked about before. But yeah, it's a rewarding experience being able to, give out, even if I'm speaking into the void and shouting into the wind, right? Which with any reviews or anything, and like no one watches them. I was doing reviews before the book channel, right? I was on a sub. I was writing down. I had limited pieces of paper, so I was fitting it all on like a small little notepad for one review, and they gave them their ratings. I might read them one day on camera, but afterwards, when I was on land, I was still having videos that were like 30, 40 minutes long, like talking about Wheel of Time or something, right? And I was doing that because I loved the stream of consciousness, and I was finding out things about what I actually felt about the books that I couldn't figure out unless I spoke about it, right? I got it out because that's just how my brain works or whatever. So I've been doing this years I've been doing this, but not really focused to be on a channel or anything. So that's what I have been mainly posting in the past, and that's what I will be posting, is that same format, right? I finish a book and I'm speaking as if I don't have an audience. It's what it was originally for, was a diary and a catalog for my future self to go back and see, what did you think about this book? What exactly? Yes, you have in your mind. Yes, I had in my mind, oh, this book was like a 7 out of 10, feeling meh. Why did I think that? And then I go to that video and look. It's so much better than having it written down. It's good to hear from my own voice because relatable. And I you know I speak to myself. I'm very convincing to myself, let's say, and talk I can talk in a way to myself that is obviously very understandable. And that's why I did it before, and that's why really I have this here. But secondly, I really want to connect. I really want to connect with other people. Don't need to be booktubers. They could just be people in the comments, because that's who I am for all these other booktubers. And it's nice. It's really nice, and I would implore people to you know, talk to me about books. I love books. I read them all the time. You read them all the time. You love them. I love them. Let's talk about them, right? So that's all I really wish with this. I'm doing the booktuber tag thing. I'm putting this out there. This is kind of different because it's not really for my sake. It's for it's me reaching out, trying to get eyeballs, you know, trying to get eyeballs so I can get those people to not only look at my videos. Yeah, I could care less about the views, right? What I want is people to look at the videos and then comment, or get people to, give me recommendations for things that I might love, right? Based off of what I say. That is, and then talk to people about what they thought and hear about them and get new perspectives, right? Because I'm only one perspective. That's the kind of stuff that I would do this for, and I do this for. So, that's the goal. That's what I'm here for, and I hope you join me in, or at least take me along your journey, if you can, if that's a better way to put it. But yeah, that's it. Please, 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 please comment, do something. Please bring me in. But yeah, until next video, I'll be out here reading. We'll see where I'm at.